Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode 33 of RangeWomen, the variety show. I have to say, I'm super excited about this episode. Not just because I'm interviewing an amazing woman who's been to Australia, by the way, but also it's episode 33. Number 3 has got a very important and significant meaning in my life. So I'm just like, it's all meant to be. So if this is your first time watching me, especially during the week on a Friday. Oh yeah, it's my day off today. So enjoying the entrepreneur vibe while I'm taking a day off my corporate job. My name is Lala Angela Wang, your host to RangeWomen, the variety show. And this show is really my desire to show you guys how many amazing women are out there around the world that are doing their things, making a difference, and just full on being amazing. And the woman that I'm going to bring on today, Brooke Yantzi, she is a woman of many talents. She's not only a dancer, she's also a healer, a mentor, a coach, and just a bubble of energy. So I can't wait. Shall we bring her on? I think we should. Hello, Brooke. How are you?
I'm.
Oh, I think we've just muted you for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. For some reason, your mic went on mute on its own.
Oh, so funny. I want to say 33 is also one of my favorite numbers. So we have that in common.
Well,
yeah, it's
like
a lucky number. So
it's a lucky number. By the way, looking good in red as always.
Thank you.
So as many people would know that I love to start the show with something interesting. And this is something I definitely did not know about you. You've been to Kenya 8 times.
Yeah.
And not just for fun. We're doing something amazing there. So tell us about your trips to Kenya.
Okay. So I started going to Kenya in 2011. And the first time that I was there, I actually was volunteering. Like many people do, I went to volunteer at this organization that works with women and kids with HIV/AIDS. And it helps women build businesses. It helps them nurse back to health when they've been, struggling in the slums, feeds them, gives them shelter, and then teaches them how to build businesses. So it's a really beautiful organization. And I went to visit them and help. They also started a school in the slums. So we were helping to build the school. And the first day there, the women, we were asking, just introducing ourselves, and they were asking what we did. And I just said, I teach dance and I help people connect to their bodies and heal through dance. And the women were like, will you dance with us? So I was like, sure. Like I came to learn some moves from you, but okay, which I learned a lot from them for sure. But I ended up teaching them dance and dancing with them, and it was so powerful. They loved it so much that I trained a few of them in that dance method. And they just loved it so much, and I created such strong bonds with them. And then when I came back to Canada, I shared with a lot of my friends what had happened and how we had danced every day. And sometimes we would dance and, we'd start with 20 people and then there'd be like 100 people there and like 150 because we're dancing outside. And it just started to spread, and how important this was for us it opened up conversations about health and wellness and drinking water and like just all of these really basic things, and HIV. And people were asking us, well, aren't you afraid to be close to these women? Like, aren't you afraid of catching AIDS? Because they weren't really educated on it. So we used dance to really educate them. So I came back home and I told some people, and they were all like, I want to go. So they got me to organize another trip. And so the second trip, we helped the women there build a sustainable garden. which is now like a farm. And we taught them about nutrition and health, but now it's like a farm and it feeds the whole community and it helps. And then women sell the extra to make money. So it's become one of their businesses too, but they all eat like kale and fish and chicken, and it's just really healthy. And so every year I've just gotten different opportunities to lead people and to grow our projects at the organization. In May, we were supposed to go with a group to build an entrepreneurship school so that we could expand what the organization already does, but to more people, to people outside of like just women and kids or just women with HIV/AIDS, to like anybody who wants to learn how to build a business, because there's a lot of people that live in the slums and they live off $1 a day, and they don't know how to get out of that poverty cycle. So we were supposed to go in May. So
I'm in. So whenever you have it next time, let me know. I'm coming, and I'll bring my builder friends as well.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Cause this is what you do. And actually the woman who runs the organization, everyone calls her mom. And she's amazing. And she's friends. She's amazing and so random sometimes. And she's friends with the president of Kenya's wife. Because the president of Kenya's wife, her whole initiative, like think the Michelle Obama of Kenya, right? Like her whole initiative is women with HIV/AIDS and like building small businesses. And what Mom's done with Living Positive in Kenya is so beyond. Like, it's amazing. So they actually gave them a plot of land so that we could build this school. So really we need to raise the money to build it. We already have the land given by the government because of the work that Mom has already done and the impact and that they know. So definitely come. It's going to be so fun. They have a joke. They kind of have a bit of a running joke that every year I bring an Australian because randomly. Yeah. Because
I'm not quite an Australian.
I have a lot of friends in Australia, and I've been there, like I said, 3 times. So like often there's people that are like, I'm coming, and they come. And so anyways, so they're expecting you.
That is so beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That is incredible. So besides being a dance instructor, an amazing healer, and a coach, who is Brooke?
Ooh, that's a big question. Well, I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. I have an incredible husband, Dave, and he's also a coach, and he does a lot of men's works. He runs men's groups and all of that. And I spend most of my time that I can in nature. So like hiking, we have a lot of mountains around here, and we live right on the ocean. So we're an ocean mountain place, kind of like Sydney, which is very mountainous and ocean. I would say Sydney is one of my top favorite cities in the world, as is Vancouver, because they're very similar. And I actually run a company. So I have 2 companies, and one teaches dance and yoga in schools all over British Columbia, my province. So I have a whole team of instructors that go into the schools and teach kids. So that's one of my businesses. And then, of course, because COVID came in and shut the schools down, and it's our 5th year actually, and we completely had to shut down because of the pandemic. And our school year is September to June, so it's a bit different than And so we had shut down from April to June, and then we started back up in September. But now the restrictions are heightening again as winter is here. So we don't have any bookings for the next few months. In person, we do online as well, online bookings. So everything's online. And my husband and I are heading to Costa Rica for a few months, which is so exciting. Just to be able to work from there, to be able to play and spend the winter somewhere warm.
Which is not really winter in Costa Rica, isn't it?
No, because it's right near the equator. So it's some of my friends are there, and they're like, it's just getting warm. It's amazing.
Yes. Sydney's definitely getting really, really warm this year. Like we already had 2 or 3 40-degree days.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Wow.
And that was at the end of November, not even December yet. We already have 40-degree days. So it's going to be a warm one.
Yeah. Are you someone who like loves the 40-degree days or?
I think 30 degrees is kind of like my comfort zone. As soon as it hits 40, it's a bit like, imagine you've got a dog that just goes out and goes.
It's like hard to breathe almost at 40
Very
degrees.
hard. Yeah, it's almost like you feel like your skin's suffocating as well because of that dry heat in Australia.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you need to go swimming. I actually, funny random story, I actually almost drowned in Bronte Beach.
It's a wavy beach though, kind of like, and that's why a lot of tourists don't get to go to Bronte because you have to know the water quite well. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're alive.
I didn't know. Luckily, you have some good lifeguards down there.
And good looking too.
I was going to say that. Some like hot man. And it was Valentine's Day. It ended up being one for the books, you know? Like one of those days where you're like, okay, it's almost drowned today, but it's a hot lifeguard, so I don't know.
There we go. A fun adventure for Valentine's Day.
Totally.
So I want to talk a little bit about COVID and how you literally reach your pivotal moment and go, okay, not only I'm going to go online, I'm actually going to start sharing a part of me that I didn't feel quite comfortable sharing online.
Ooh, that's a really good question. Whew, COVID was a big one. And I think I'm not the only one, right? Where COVID was that cosmic 2x4, that wake up moment. Because leading up for the last, I'd say year and a half, I had, I was 3.5 years into my other business. And I'm a manifestor in human design. Are you pretty familiar with human design? Yeah. So I need to be creating. I need to be doing new things. And I can create fast. And I get a lot of excitement from doing that. And so I think here I am 3.5 years into my business teaching dance and yoga and having a whole team. And we have like the whole thing. And it's growing and it's great. But there was something missing. And the part of me that loves working with women, the part of me that loves to create community and loves helping female entrepreneurs. Like I've been doing this for 15 years, helping female entrepreneurs in different capacities. And so I was feeling called, and about 1.5 years ago, I launched a mastermind program in Vancouver. And we met in person every other week. And it was really informal. Like I did it for fun to bring together some of my favorite women who were entrepreneurs. And it was so much fun. And so that kept evolving. And then a few of them asked if they could coach with me, business coach. And I was like, okay, yeah, I've done some coaching programs in the past. I've ran a few businesses. I can do this. And I've taken like coaching certifications, but I never actually stepped into it as a coach. So I'm like, huh. And so Spirit kept dropping these hints for me. And I had this moment around this time last year where I was like, okay, I can feel that Spirit, Source, Creator, Universe wants to come through me and is asking me to step into this next level thing. But I don't quite know how to navigate because I do have this other business that's very busy and that's flourishing and there's a lot going on. So I don't know how to navigate it. And I remember having this thought because in the past, some of my big shifts have been like forest fire evacuations where I've had to like evacuate my city. And like, that was how I got to Vancouver to launch this business. I was living in the city and I was working for a mental health organization and I was feeling the call to move to Vancouver and launch something new, but I couldn't figure out the timing of it. And then a fire ripped through our city and all 100,000 people had to evacuate for 2 months. And
That's dramatic.
It's traumatic. But like talk about cosmic 2x4. And I knew in that moment, I could feel like that peace, that calm, that like everything's happening for me moments, even though it's like not the way you expect it. And I was with my friend in Vancouver here who had created a program called Dance Play. And I had traveled all over the world with her. I'd ran retreats with her in Australia. We actually spent a lot of time in Australia together. And she's like, do you need a bigger sign? It's your time to move to Vancouver, because she kept telling me, move to Vancouver, you're going to love it. Come live here with me and all these things. And so I was like, okay. So about a year ago, I was like, I hope it doesn't take a forest fire level shift, cosmic 2x4. And then COVID hits. And I'm like, seriously? Like, what? Because it's not even like my life doesn't even move that slowly. Like, I was only in my last place for a year and a half. Like, it's not like I'm sitting on these things for years, like literally. And I think I was like really having this inkling for maybe like 6 to 8 months, and then COVID. Really? So honestly, though, it was such great timing. I was already running the mastermind. I knew in that moment, I was like, okay, this really sucks for my other business. And this is really hard. But being in the Alpha Femme experience and just being surrounded by amazing women, I was like, okay, it's my time to do this. So I like up-leveled the mastermind, launched that again, sold it out. I was like, oh, it's like my first time like not selling, but like promoting online. And then I actually had a call with like an intuitive, like psychic. And I was like, I'm feeling like I want to create a program. I just don't know what it's going to be about. And so she's like, it's going to be about teaching people how to build businesses. And like, I was like, really? And then I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I've built 3 businesses before. And they're all like, I've traveled the world in dance. Like I mean, one of the businesses was a network marketing business, and I was very successful with that. But I got a lot of like sales experience, leadership. Like there's a lot of things I learned from that because I was quite successful. And then my Play Education BC business. And I was like, cool. So all of a sudden one night, maybe a couple days later or a week later, the whole program just downloaded for me. And I started kind of putting the feelers out to my network, and it was like, yes, sign me up. And I was like, okay. And I filled up the course in like a week, and I was like, okay, cool. I guess this is, so it just started to really unfold, and I kept following just these nudges. Yeah. And the next program that kind of started to trickle in was for me to utilize the dance and the movement and help women connect to their bodies, which is what I used to travel all over the world teaching in some capacities in my 20s. This is what brought me to Australia. This is what led me to Kenya. But in the last few years, I haven't really, maybe 7 or 8 years, I haven't done anything with it because I've been so focused on like the school business and on like the network marketing business and the other things I was doing. And so I created a program called Embodied Radiance, and it's just really helping them like connect to their bodies and get back to themselves. So COVID really has helped me to just reconnect to myself and get back in this like creative sort of nature, get back to this place where I'm like creating and offering and learning like this whole online world that like I totally built like my business in schools. I completely built word of mouth and presenting at conferences. Like we have barely any online presence. So this is like a whole new world for me. So I hope that answers your question.
Definitely. And the whole time I just keep seeing this image of, I remember when you went back to your mastermind and when you had the first in-person meeting, and that was because I met you during COVID online. And the first time I saw that photo, I was just like, oh my goodness me, I can feel the energy of that mastermind through the photos of my phone screen. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. No wonder why they were all like, yep, and wanted to buy. It's the community you create. And I feel just from watching you, you're such a community's person, you're such a community spirit. But have you always been like an entrepreneur that wanted to build communities?
I mean, that's so interesting that you say that because I love community, and I grew up in a town of 2,000 people where I was related to most people in the town. Like, yeah. And a lot of my relatives still live there. Like they're very community oriented. And I experienced a very strong sense of community growing up. And then when I look at it, like, in high school, I ran a cheerleading team, but it became such a powerful community. And I became a mentor for a lot of younger girls. And when I was in university, I ran this 100-person charity dance production. So it was like such a community, right? And so I always have been building community. It's a big part of who I am. It's a big part of what I do. It's a big part of my core values. With the dance company that I was in that I traveled to like Australia with, like I helped to ignite communities. Like we had this whole community in Melbourne, was a big community for us. And yeah, I think it's kind of one of my natural gifts. And has been throughout. And I think that's why I thrived in network marketing, is because I built community. People were asking me to join my team. Like people would be like, I just want to be a part of this thing. I don't really know what it is that we do. I don't even care if I make money. I just want to like be around. Like, so I think there is that naturally that element. And even with my instructors, like they're all such good friends. And even some of them, when like they leave, they still come to our Christmas parties and they still like want to be around. And I think you're right. I think it naturally is something that I do. And then the entrepreneurship piece comes from, it's like the community piece on one hand, and then the entrepreneurship piece. I grew up with all of my uncles being entrepreneurs. They all own their own businesses, as well as my dad. And my grandpa as well. My dad described him once as like, he was a very forward thinking. He was a very innovative man, which I never met him because he died before I was born. But I think it's in my blood. So I know it. So I feel like I went to university and got the degree, but I never really felt like I was going to get a job. I just knew I was going to create not just a business, but like a lifestyle, and that my lifestyle would work for me, and my business and the evolution of my journey would always support my lifestyle. So I've traveled all over the world. I've presented, I've had clients and businesses all over the world, which is why even this trip to Costa Rica just makes sense. And as soon as we made the decision, it was like, yes, 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 yes. It's just all falling into place because this is part of like my natural state, I think.
That is so magical. It's like you're just meant to do what you do, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I think so. Yeah.
I actually really love how you describe the not just nudges, but when the universe gives you a big sign as what did you call it again? The 2x4.
A cosmic 2x4. Yeah. Because you can just imagine that big freaking 2x4, that big piece of wood smacking you. Like you can't even deny it. You're just like, what a wake-up call.
Well, your business model is really working on igniting people from the inside out. In a way, it's, for me, the way that I see it, it's more like a gentle 2x4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of like hitting you on the head, it's like that's bring it out from within you. I guess my question is, do you believe we all have that fire in us? Because we talk about, your business, part of it is about the feminine energy in the dance, in the movement. The other part is about igniting fire. How do you see the two goes hand in hand?
I feel like the feminine energy, I feel like there's definitely a part of connecting to the feminine is that fire, that excitement, right? That bubbly, that effervescent sort of energy that when you think of like igniting your fire, you can think of it in a few different ways. Like one is like ignite your fire, get that stuff done, right? But you can also think of like ignite your fire, be inspired, right? Like allow it to flow. And when you think of those really magnetic feminine women that like yourself,
Oh,
Like
thank
you have that fire inside of you. It's so ignited in you.
you.
And so people are drawn to your energy. They're magnetized to you. And you're radiant, you're glowing because you're excited for life. You want to talk about the things that you're up to. You want to talk about your projects and the different things that you're working on. And I very much feel like that is such a feminine fire in a lot of ways. So they very much do go together. And I also feel like creative energy is feminine, and it's also very fiery energy, like when we're creating, right? And it's just really like ignite your fire is like igniting your purpose. It's like igniting that inspiration, right? And sure, sometimes that is igniting the masculine because it's a dance. It's like when you're inspired to do something, it's more likely you're going to take action. Right? Then when your fire is dim and you're feeling low and it's like, oh, I got to do this thing, right? It's two very different energies. So that's why my Facebook group is called Ignite Your Fire. And like a lot of, I've taught master classes on it. And a lot of what I do is all around like how you can tap into that inner fire and let that flame continue to nurture that flame. Just like with a fire, you need to continue to put wood in the fire and to have air flowing through it to allow it to burn. And then I love the idea of like the alchemy of it, right? Like burning out the old, lighting up, transformation. Fire, it changes, wood into ash. It changes uncooked fish into cooked fish. My husband's cooking fish right now, so I think that's what it changes. Yeah. It changes dough into cookies. Like it transforms things. So I just love the word fire. I also really resonate with the fire because of the story that I told you. But I've actually been evacuated from two big forest fires. So that was one of them. Another one I had to get flown out because I was working in an Indigenous community in Canada, in Northern Ontario, doing a dance leadership program for the youth there, and a fire ripped through this small 2,000 person community. But it's one of those communities that's fly in, fly out only. Like there's no roads in or out.
Only literally have to fly out.
Yeah, only in the winter when it freezes, then they have frozen roads. Like that's how far it is. So in the summer for a few months when I was there, there's no roads. So they had to bring, like the government of Canada, it was a big state of emergency. They had to bring in big planes and fly us all out.
Was the community all right though? Did they survive in the end?
You know what? The fire never ended up reaching the community, but it got quite close. So they ended up being okay, but everyone got evacuated.
That's good.
So I think just like the fire analogy, like there's so much there. And also the fact that like when I really look at like what happened with the last forest fire evacuation, what happened with COVID, it's like ignite your fire. And sometimes things like this ignite it for us. Right? It's like if you think of a match, it's got to like scratch against the thing, right? It rubs. It's the friction that's like, it becomes so painful that's like, and I feel like that's happening to a lot of people right now. Right? Like what you're creating, right? The friction of like staying small. Like you have some really incredible projects and things you do, but you also have this whole other world that's opening up for you. And you're like adding wood to the fire, you're creating, and as the fire burns, it's like more people are like, ooh, what's over there? They're turning to look. Because of course, when there's a fire happening, you can't not look at it. Right?
Yeah. But what I also love is the analogy, you and community, because if you look at back in the days when we're still like living in a cave, fire is the thing that's in the kitchen that cooks things, but it also brings the community together.
Totally.
You have this fire that destroys things, but it also has that fire that has got that energy of bringing communities in. When I see you, like you're passionate about business, about women, about bringing greater good to the world, it's bringing so many people in. And like to me, ignite your fire is like your perfect thing. It describes you in every way that I could imagine. Maybe that's why the red looks so good on you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely going through a rebrand right now. My friend is she's amazing at branding, and she's a branding coach, and so she like created my whole branding this summer, and we like created it, and then the fall hit and I started wearing red, and she's like we need to bring red into your brand. Like, what are we doing here? So definitely I've been wearing a lot of red lately, and you're right, like the fire, the red. You're right. People gather around fire, the community, even around food, which we need fire to cook food, right? When you think about, and also there's one more thing about that. Also, I really resonate with the phoenix rising from the ashes.
Oh, yes.
I really resonate with that. In fact, I'm kind of on the brink of like, I can feel something coming through around that whole concept. And it's like that whole, because I'm sure we've all had those experiences. And to be honest, 2020 and this whole COVID thing has, to a certain extent, left me feeling a little bit phoenix-like yet once again. You know, like the fires in 2016 that brought me to Vancouver, it was a very phoenix moment. Like everything burned down so I can rise from the ashes. And in a lot of ways with my other business, it felt that way. It was just like, and your business is closed for 6 months, right? And then we open for a few and it's closed again. And it's just like, and so I'm like rising from the ashes in this time that could be very difficult and has moments where it's difficult, but also moments where I just know it's just so clear that this is a part of me and that I'm a total phoenix. And I've had a few moments of this in my life where everything just gets
literally
burnt to the ground. Literally.
Yeah. And I think 2020 is a bit like you double down on your learnings, on your development, on your things, but you also double up on your rising. It's like we didn't just had to go down to the ashes once, not twice. There's several times. And it's almost like, I love the analogy of fire, because if you look at Australia, how we had that massive bushfire around this time last year. Yeah. But what you see now in the bushes is among the burn down, the charcoal, the black, there's also all these greens that pops up. Right, go into the countries, it was brown, literally brown last year. Now it's all green. And this is just the way nature sort of regenerates, and the ashes becomes fertilizers for the strong enough seeds and plant to continue to grow. It's just the way that nature works. And so whenever I love it, and I love how you talked about the phoenix as well, because it's literally the analogy of you get burned down, you replenish yourself, and you come back up better again.
Totally. Yeah.
Do you think dance has helped you in that, I guess, regeneration of your spirit and regenerating of that phoenix-like mentality?
100%. 100%. Dance is such a saving grace for me, because I feel like with dance, I can shift through anything, any fear, emotion, any sadness, like anything that's stuck in my body, anything that I'm struggling with. I just feel so differently after I've taught or after I've danced. So 100% dance helps me transform it. Like it's like one of those things that, your flow state where like nothing else exists. Dance is one of those for me. So it's really cool, because I can be going in to teach or doing anything else. Even last night, I just launched my new program on a second round of the Embodied Radiance program. Thank you.
Congrats!
Thank you. So our opening night was last night. And so of course, before like a new opening, I was feeling a little bit nervous, a little bit anxious, a little bit like, oh my gosh, and the excitement. And then, of course, being there, as soon as we started dancing, it just shifted. And all night I was like, I'm like buzzing around. Afterwards, my husband's like, okay, how can we like calm you down so that you can sleep? But definitely it's like alchemy for me. And it helps me to feel things deeper if I need to feel them, or it helps me just shift right out of them if like a state change.
That is so good. Almost like your anchor, isn't that? When you move, it's just move the energies around you. So what would you say to the woman that perhaps are watching and go like, well, I am stiff as a stick. There's no way that I can move and dance like you do, Brooke. But I'm interested in this whole thing that you have to say about feminine energy and move around and moving energy. What would you say to the woman that's like, there's no way I know how to dance?
I love that. I'm stiff as a stick. First of all, everyone can dance. Everyone can move. And being stiff often means that you hold a lot of tension in your body. And so when you're moving, just taking a lot of time to relax your body, not overthink of the way it looks. A lot of people, when they're really stiff, it's because they're really in their heads. They're really trying to make the movements look good, or they're thinking about how they look as they move, or how the movements look bad. But there's no right or wrong in movement, and there's no right or wrong in dance. And so the more we can let go of the way we look and connect and relax our bodies, and it's something that when I'm coaching and teaching women to connect their bodies, I'm constantly saying, relax your hips more, relax your shoulders more, relax. So I'm constantly coaching them to relax their movements. So the more you can breathe and get into your body and allow it to, it's so huge for you. And not for anyone who says that, right? I'm not saying you, but so huge for our bodies, because that's all this tension. Our movement is just a reflection of what's going on in our life.
And quite often what I'm seeing is the more stiff I am, I can be stiff at times, it's because I'm literally holding on things. And really quite often it's emotions. Our body really holds so much of emotions, maybe ourselves, other people's. And I love that. I love how you said, just relax. You know, it's really about, I do believe for us to be better out in the world, we need to get to know ourselves so much better in here, and through understanding the tensions in our body and understanding our body, that's really a really great way to get to know ourselves better.
Totally. Yeah. It's so great.
So are you going to be running an online dance course anytime soon?
Well, actually, the Embodied Radiance program has a lot of movement and dance in it. Yeah, like we do, like last night we did like an hour of dance in it. So it's really cool because it's an embodiment course. So if anyone's interested, they can still join.
I was just going to ask you that question.
Yeah, you can still join. The welcome call was last night, but you can watch that replay and then join in. It's 8 weeks, once a week, so that it's like you really have time to implement what we do. And then I'm thinking about creating like a dance only, where it's like dance class, like that sort of thing. And of course, there's probably be a theme to it, because there's so much that we can integrate with it. So definitely keep following. I don't have anything really solidly in the plans right now. But if there's an interest, for sure. But definitely the Embodied Radiance program's spectacular and just really helps women connect to their body, connect to their intuition, connect to all of it. And so there's some teaching and then a lot of movement to integrate it, which is really a unique part of what I do, because this is where I've seen a bit of a gap in industry and in learning, is that there's a lot up here, but then it gets disconnected. So people get stuck because they're not moving the energy. They're not experiencing it. They're not integrating it and embodying it. And this is where people are like, I've done all the courses, but nothing's changed. which is why I love using movement so that we can shift out. I just really feel like, in what I've seen and what my students are already messaging me breakthroughs from last night, like I'm blown away, but it just really speeds up the process.
You kind of answered one of the questions I was going to ask is, how do you link business? Because for a lot of people, business is a very sort of strategic, logical kind of process. And then we talk about dance and the spirituality and the healing. How do you link the two in your own life? And how does the two support one another?
Ooh. How do I link dance and business? That's a really good question, because my businesses have a lot of dance in them. So to me, I'm like, aren't they just related? So part of me it's like, I really have to think about that one. However, I do, even in my Passion to Action course, which teaches women how to build businesses, I do bring in movement a little bit here and there. Like, it's not like a dance program by any means, but depending on the topic, just to move the energy. I just really feel like dance can be related to and utilized in all areas of life, especially if you're feeling like that stuck, stagnant energy. Or if you're needing like a state change, to tap into a different state, a different feeling, or like shift your vibe. So I feel like I can relate dance to anything, really.
Yeah. Well, for me, I really only just tapped into dancing probably about the last 2 years. So I went to a Kundalini dance class. I was like, oh my God, this is so awkward. You're asking me to do all these things. Luckily, I could close my eyes, because I was one of those people that really concerned about how I look. And the movement that came out of me was kind of like, ooh, I don't know. It's a bit awkward.
Yeah.
But what I'm finding is, like you said, if you link your movement to a mood change. So for some days, I have a celebration song. If I feel like tapping into, I need a bit of energy, that helps me change my state.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge thing. That's a really good point. I feel like I integrate movement and dance to everything. That I was like, how do I do it? Because it's like ingrained in what I do. Yeah, Dave and I, when we get new clients or welcome a new, like, receive money or anything like that, music on, dancing around, celebration. We do a lot of celebrating and it's also like in our businesses for sure. It's such a great way to even bring teams together. I have done a lot of workshops with different teams in many different capacities where, just even a few songs, a few simple songs, like, it doesn't have to be complicated, but gets people outside their comfort zones. It gets people shaking and moving and pre-COVID high-fiving. Hugging. I know. We used to do so many high fives in our programs. It's not going to happen. The things that COVID has taken us away. So I think those are awesome ways to integrate dance and movement and really help, because I mean, you and I both know business is such an energetic thing. It's energetic. It's how can we stay in a really good place? How can we deal and have the emotional intelligence to deal with difficult things? And then how can we reconnect and get back into the high vibes and continue to create, continue to move on, continue to generate business? So, yeah.
I think it's
What's your favorite celebration song? Do you have one?
Yes. What is it called again? It's a Pink song. Raise Your Glass.
Oh, yeah. So raise your glasses.
Yep. And I do the whole hands up.
You raise the roof?
Yeah.
Such a good move.
It is. But it also reminded me, I used to listen to that song when I was down. And to me now, it's such a good anchor, because it always managed to bring me back up again.
That's awesome.
What's yours, Brooke?
I love the song right now. One of my favorites is, Higher Love.
Oh, yes.
And Whitney Houston is one of my favorites. And then there's another one called, I'm just pulling it up, Freedom. I think it's Kygo as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Freedom.
think I've heard of that song as well. That's so beautiful.
Freedom,
Yeah.
I've been looking for. Yeah, those are like two of my top right now. I'm actually warming up a conference this weekend for coaches. It's about 500 people on Zoom with dance. And so
that is awesome.
every day we'll be dancing every morning. And then there's another like brain booster throughout the day. So I'm really excited and a little bit nervous and just
I can just see you like Tony Robbins with all these massive screens of people dancing with you.
That's exactly what it's going to be like. One of my friends is putting on this conference, and he's one of those people that you're like, how? He's very successful, but like he's just like one of our really good friends. Like Dave and him he actually just hired my husband to teach him how to ski because my husband used to be a professional skier.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and he's just like one of our really good friends. But his conferences have like Jack Canfield and like Lisa Nichols and like all of these massive names. So when he asked me to get everyone dancing, I'm like, okay. I'm like so nervous, which I'm never nervous to teach ever, but definitely it's a big deal.
Congratulations. I am so happy for you.
Thank you.
So how do we find you, Brooke, if we want to join any of your programs?
So BrookeYantzi.com, which you can see right there, that's my website. Of course, you can follow me on Facebook, Brooke Jillian Yantzi, which I don't know if you can see that on there, but we can post the link. And then I have a personal private Facebook group called Ignite Your Fire, and it's an activation lounge for intuitive entrepreneurs. So it's an awesome place. I go and hang out. I do angel card readings and master classes and intuitive readings, and it's just a really fun place to be. So are you in that? I think you are.
I'm one of those silent people because generally when you're live, I'm at work. So I'll be like watching with my headphone on with my phone underneath a pile of paper.
Totally, because we're in such different time zones, right? It's Thursday afternoon here and it's Friday morning there.
Well, it's almost midday, so
yeah. Well, it's like 4 p.m. here, so it's almost evening.
Dinner time. Yeah, so we skip a meal.
Totally. Whenever I was in Australia, I'd always have that like stupid joke, like, hey, like I'd message my boyfriend at the time or my parents would be like, hey, it's the future calling.
Yeah, we still joke about that.
Bad jokes, right?
I love it though. Like in the New Year's, we're literally going to be like, we're in 2021 and it's looking pretty awesome here.
Totally. Unless like something wild happens, you're like,
oh, please don't. Not the 2x4, please.
No, I think it sounds like it's going to get better and better. So
I certainly hope so. That way I can come to Canada and visit you.
Awesome. I'd love that. Probably come. Or to Costa Rica.
Oh, yes. Actually, I've been dying to, ever since COVID, I've met so many people from the Northern Hemisphere, and I'm now really looking forward to traveling so I can actually meet everybody in person.
That would be awesome.
And you can probably come to Australia now as well.
I love that. I actually told my husband, I was like, I'd love to live in Australia for a year or two. And
has he been?
Especially Sydney. He's never been. I really love Sydney.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm just a bit biased, but
it's a cool place. I'm into it.
Thank you so much, Brooke. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come onto this interview, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. I appreciate you asking me to be here, and I look forward to all of you coming and playing with me and dancing.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you next
Bye.
time.